Hey, so I'm Wyatt Gill, and today we're going to talk about ICF construction technique with materials. I'd like to say thank you for watching. Hope you learn a lot from this video. So, what is an ICF? So, an ICF is an insulated concrete form. So, pretty much it's a hollow foam block. It has reinforced steel rebar and it's poured with concrete. So, pretty much you just stack up foams. So let me get this out the way, this picture. So if you can see right here, those are your foam blocks right there. They kind of stack on top of each other. And then you got your reinforced, uh, those are like rebar chairs right there. So then rebar will kind of sit right inside those, and that's how you set your rebar in those. And then you pour all those in with concrete once you get your blocks up. So that's what an ICF is. It's pretty much just a solid insulated concrete wall. So they're considered very, very strong, a lot stronger than wood, a lot stronger than metal, and they're more energy efficient than wood and metal. So that's kind of why you want to go this route and use a ICF instead of, your typical wood framing or your typical commercial metal framing. So a lot of times they come between 6 to 12 inches, and it depends on your load capacity and the soil type. So a lot of things in this class keep on going back to soil type, your load capacities, and that's all things that are considered when talking about ICS. So here's a little bit better design, and it kind of breaks it down. So as you can see, you have your foam blocks on this outside, and usually these are braced off somehow. And then inside, you're gonna have your rebar. You see these as your reinforcements, and then concrete right there inside. So foam, concrete, reinforcement inside the concrete, and then another layer of foam right there. So here's the advantages of a insulated concrete form. So energy efficiency. So ICF walls can get up to R values of 22 and higher, keeping the house well conditioned. So as I kept on researching it, though, the R value was kind of hard to find. I would get R values of 22 and higher, and then some would say 27 and higher. So I just went with a low one, so 22 and higher, and that's a pretty good R value considered a lot of just your normal insulated houses. And so since this is a solid concrete brick wall, not a brick wall, but a solid ICF, solid concrete, keeps all your outside noises out. So your house is gonna be very quiet, and that's something people that when they think about ICF, they want to go with. They like the quietness it brings. So, and probably one of the biggest things, and probably the biggest thing that people think of when they think of an ICF is a safer alternative for fires, hurricanes, and earthquakes due to due to due to the reinforced concrete holding the wall together. So pretty much not just fires, hurricanes, and earthquakes, but really all your natural disasters. Like I know we've all, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us that lived here our whole lives, we've been through hurricanes and we've seen the damage it's done. So with an ICF wall, you're not getting that damage you usually get as a typical wood framed house. So I remember working right after Sally hit, and it was just wood was just didn't hold up very good. We worked out on houses on the beach, and it just tore them all to pieces. And it was pretty much take a complete exterior wall and replace it. But with an ICF, you don't have to do that. So there are some disadvantages of ICF. So ICF does not work well in extremely low temperatures. So an ICF is designed to absorb the heat in a building, which keeps it cool during the day and it warms it up at night. So whenever it's extremely cold outside, pretty much you're gonna have the heater running inside, and pretty much your walls are just gonna absorb all that heat. So, so like yeah, you can crank up your heat, which is probably what you have to do, but you keep on just losing it. So then it doesn't be as efficient as what it is when you think of an ICF. So now when the weather's warmer, like out down here in the south, an ICF is great for that. But when you go somewhere where you're getting into negative temperatures, and that's something you really don't want to deal with there. So ICFs do cost more than traditional framing. However, some people look at this as a bad thing, but when you really think about it, is let's go back to the example of the natural disaster. So whenever you do that and a disaster comes, tears down your house, now you're sitting bad for a for getting it fixed. You're spending money and you're doing all that. If you spend that little bit more upfront cost and get that ICF, it will definitely save it. Hold on. Not bad. I had to get a computer plugged in. So yeah, so it would cost a lot less to repair this after a hurricane than it would, your other types of framing. So it also makes future remodeling much more difficult since it's a solid concrete wall on the interior. You can't just move an outlet 3 feet over, so that's a little different. Now you can run it through a little bit of furring you have on the inside, but like plumbing, all those, your pipes, you can't really move those like you can in other forms of in other techniques of construction. So the process is you start off, you excavate, you pour your footers, and you want pretty much get your footers ready to go per the engineer's plans, and then you want to stack your ICF form boards. So pretty much like that picture we just showed in the front, they kind of look like let me go back to it. Do this again. So they kind of just stack just like that, and that's your first step. And they look like they stack pretty easy. And from all the pictures I looked at, they're not that heavy as you would think. So it's not that difficult to really stack them up. So so then once you get your ICF form board stacked up, you're gonna brace your walls. And pretty much bracing your walls is important because if you don't, then your concrete could blow your wall out. And that's pretty much just self-explanatory why you don't want that. So you reinforce the uh, the concrete. So you do this with rebar. As I said earlier about pretty much it had the rebar chairs already built into the to, to the ICF boards, and that's pretty much just reinforce it just like that. So then after that, you inspect your bracing and your reinforcement, and this is just double check your work, make sure everything's good. Then you go ahead, you pour your concrete, and a very important step in not really just this, but all concrete, but especially this, you want to vibrate your concrete. So pretty much what that does is whenever you pour concrete like this, it will have a whole bunch of air voids in it. So once you vibrate it, all those air voids they rise and they rise up to the top and they leave the concrete. And if you don't do this, your concrete will be a lot weaker and just not perform to the strength you want it to. So then you go ahead, you finish out the top of your wall, and then you really just let your concrete cure. So I wanted to get a little bit bigger picture of pretty much what we're talking about when we're talking about an ICF wall. So as you can see here, they pretty much just got a whole exterior of a building. They got their whole layout right there, and they just built these little foam boards. Now, I would say in a situation where it's a little bit lower like this, and they can somewhat work a little bit better as a retaining wall than a lot of other types of framing. But I mean, some people can say but that's really it's a solid brick wall, solid concrete wall. So, but this is definitely what it looks like. They'll probably build these up, and here you see your braces, see your reinforcement chairs inside there, and pretty much you just fill these up with concrete, finish up the tops, and that's pretty much it. So those are my sources. And I mean, ICS, there's a different technique. Some people call it more sustainable, and it definitely can be if it's in the right location. You can save a lot of energy doing a house like this. And the upfront costs are they're a little bit more. So I looked at the prices, and it really just varies where you live, but it's anywhere between 10 to 40% more on the total cost of construction for a ICF house. But I mean, over the years, I think you'll definitely make that back, especially with what could go wrong, the money you're saving on energy. And I would say definitely with the insulation on it is something great for the South. And I think it's one of the better types of exterior framing out there, you know. You don't have to worry about your wood rotting because it's a concrete wall. And it just the more and more you think about it, the more and more pros it has than cons from any other types of framing. Hope you all learned a lot, and that will conclude my presentation. And I have my sources right down here on the last page. Thank you.